Appeared on September 24th, 2005. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Samantha Bonnell's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. A rebellious teen who's run away before suddenly vanishes far from home.
If we couldn't get her home, she was gonna end up something really bad.
Her fun night out with new friends turns into a nightmare.
You know, she left with them. She didn't come back with them. Where's she at? It was panic.
Investigators uncover frightening clues.
My concern was that somebody may have been chasing her.
Her mother begins an agonizing search through a shadowy world that leads to a shocking discovery.
It became my secret prison. I think that's maybe the worst thing I ever had to do. It was just heart-wrenching. My baby girl was missing, and I had to find her.
Her 22-year-old boyfriend, Chris, worked together on a magazine crew, a traveling group of young people who sell magazine subscriptions door to door.
We traveled around the United States. They would drop us off in different neighborhoods, basically just peddling magazines door to door. Sometimes it would be apartment buildings, condos, townhouses. As long as there was a door there, you knocked on it.
Samantha and Chris met just a few months earlier, in July.
You hit it off right from the start. She stood out to me. She had bright eyes. She was pretty bubbly. She always had something nice to say about people, and I really enjoyed that about her.
After growing up as a restless teen in Alaska, Samantha craved adventure. When she found the magazine crew job, it seemed like the perfect opportunity.
She had decided that she wanted to see the world. It was just, oh wow, you're gonna take me all over the country and I'm gonna get to see everything. If something sounded good to her, she'd just do it.
She was a free spirit. She enjoyed the thought of traveling in the United States, meet new people, and get paid to do it. You know, it was awesome. We were all doing the same thing pretty much, you know, just all trying to escape something.
Even though Samantha and Chris loved traveling, working on the magazine crew became a grind. They leave their team in Sacramento, California.
They just kind of slave drove us. There was no excuses, you know. You didn't have your sales for the day. You were bumming off somebody else to eat. We just wanted to get off the road.
I got a phone call from Samantha and Chris, and they were stuck in Sacramento, California. They had enough money for one night in a motel room. I paid for a second night, and I did as I had always done. Where do you want to go? I'll buy you a plane ticket home. I'll buy you a bus ticket to your grandma's. I want you to come home, but if you won't come home, where will you go that you're safe?
Samantha tells her mom they want to go to Chris's parents' house near Claremont, California, about an hour east of Los Angeles.
I wouldn't send them unless they gave me Chris's parents' number and let me call and make sure that there was a place for them to go to.
After talking to Chris's mom, Mary buys the young couple bus tickets from Sacramento. Samantha gets in touch with Mary once they arrive.
Samantha called me, and it's like, Mom, I'm here, I'm safe, everything's okay. I love you, I'll call you later.
But it would be the last time Mary hears from her daughter before she disappears. Chris and Samantha stay with his family near Claremont, but things don't go as planned. Reluctantly, they decide to return to their old magazine crew.
I was hoping that my mom, she would let us stay there and it would be all right, but like that wasn't gonna happen. We decided that the only other way we were gonna be able to stay together is if we stayed on the magazine crew. And I asked my mom for bus money, for tickets to get back up there.
As Samantha and Chris wait at the bus station to rejoin their old crew in Sacramento, a new opportunity arises. One that will impact their lives forever.
Two guys approached us and asked us if we wanted a job, and I already knew that they were going to try to get us on some kind of sales crew.
The couple is recruited to join a new magazine crew that's staying at a hotel next door. Samantha and Chris go to the hotel and hang out, waiting for the rest of the team to return from work.
We just wanted to wait for everybody to get back and see who we were going to be around. Who are these people, you know, you want to meet them. But everybody seemed pretty cool, and she ended up talking to a couple girls.
Samantha tells Chris that some of the crew members are going to the movies.
She asked if I wanted to go too. I said, you know, go ahead. I don't want to go. Have fun and, you know, be careful. See you when you get back. And I gave her a kiss, and she took off.
Several hours later, the crew returns to the hotel. What should have been a relaxing Saturday night suddenly takes an ominous turn. Samantha isn't with them.
At first, I didn't even know what to think. I was like, where the hell is she? You know, she left with them. She didn't come back with them. Where's she at? It was panic.
Desperate, Chris starts drilling the others.
I asked everybody, where the hell's Samantha at? And, oh, she got up in the middle of the movie and she just ran out. She was crying. Okay, well, what else? You know, like, what else? And there was nothing else. They weren't telling me anything else. That's all that happened.
Chris hears the same story from several crew members who'd been at the movies, including a girl who'd been sitting near Samantha. Chris finds their lack of concern for Samantha troubling.
They just let her run out of the theater, and that always kind of struck a chord with me. It's like, who's like that, you know? I would have, like, tried to follow her and see what was going on with her. Just never added up to me.
He hadn't noticed any signs that Samantha was upset earlier in the evening at the hotel.
It was very surprising to me that she was in a happy mood when she left, and they're reporting to me that she got up crying, running out of the theater. Didn't make sense.
The crew members tell Chris they didn't see Samantha when the movie was over.
They said that they had gone, you know, upstairs and checked out if she was there or not, and she wasn't there. They didn't know her, so, I mean, maybe they thought she was back at the hotel. I don't know what they thought. They kind of just passed it off like it, nonchalantly, like it was nothing. And it made me mad.
Even though he's upset by their attitude, Chris believes what they're telling him is the truth.
I talked to one guy right there at the van as soon as they pulled up. But all the rest of the people, they all said the same thing.
Chris heads out to search for Samantha at the theater.
The guy that takes the tickets, I asked him if he had seen anybody running out of the movie theater. Looked like she was upset, and he said, no, I haven't seen anything like that. I searched around, you know, I searched the parking lot, you know, just looking around everywhere, and I didn't come up with anything.
Chris makes the hour-long walk back to the hotel. He doesn't see Samantha anywhere along the way.
I felt pretty helpless. I didn't even know if she knew how to get back to the hotel.
Back at the hotel, there's no sign of Samantha.
So I called her mom. I asked her if she had heard from her, and she said that she hadn't.
By this time, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. Chris tells her the magazine crew's puzzling story. When Mary hears that Samantha seems to have run off, she tells Chris something he doesn't expect. Coming up, was Samantha hiding something from Chris?
I just remember thinking, like, how could she do that to me? How could she do it?
Samantha Bennell doesn't return from the movies. Her boyfriend Chris calls her mom in Alaska. What he learns is disturbing.
She told me that it wasn't unlike Samantha to just go off and do her own thing and not tell anybody where she's going. Basically, it sounded to me, you know, kind of like she probably took off on you, and she might be somewhere else with somebody else.
I was pretty sleepy when he woke me up. I think I mentioned to him that she'd had a boyfriend that was in a nearby city. She had run away so many times, anything got stressful or too hard. It was kind of her MO. If she didn't like what was happening, she'd leave. She'd go find something else.
Samantha's mom, Mary, recalls Samantha first acting out when she was about 13, after Mary and Samantha's stepfather moved the family to Palmer, Alaska, about an hour north of Anchorage.
Samantha kind of was withdrawn from the family, and there were a lot of arguments. She was angry with us for moving her. She tended to sneak out her window at night and go do what she wanted to do, party with her friends.
Mary saw a side of her daughter begin to fade away.
Samantha was extremely bright and made friends easily. When she'd walk into her room, she'd just light it up. She did extremely well in school when she wanted to.
Mary's attempts to get this former A student back on track seemed futile.
We'd sent her to counseling. Everything we attempted to do just seemed to backfire on us. She got bold enough where she'd just walk out the door and slam it in her face. She'd run away for a day or two, but we'd know where she was. One of her friends would call us and let us know where she was, or she'd call us and let us know where she was. I think Samantha felt like she was less than everybody else somehow. She really wanted to be part of the group so much that she tried drugs and she'd drink. And I think if it hadn't been for peer pressure, I don't think she'd have ever done those.
After about 3 years of trying to rein in Samantha's wild behavior, Mary says her 16-year-old daughter went to a treatment program.
It was just not quite the worst time in my life, but close.
But according to her mother, when Samantha came back, she began turning her life around.
We were talking and finally got to the point where the fight was over and my daughter was my friend again. She was attending night classes to finish her high school and working during the day. I envisioned my daughter actually having a future rather than ending up on the streets, hooked on drugs, running from everything and everybody. It was just like the end of this long, dark tunnel.
In March 2005, Samantha shared a new plan with her mother. She wanted to go to California with her roommate's brother.
I was a little worried about her going to California. She struggled so hard to get where she's at. She's doing good, but we couldn't really stop her.
Any fears Mary had began to ease once Samantha arrived in Southern California.
I'm hearing from her 2 or 3 times a week. He's taken her to the beach and he's taken her to the mountains. I could just hear the happy in her voice.
But by May, about 4 months before Samantha vanished, her calls to Mary became more sporadic.
We're lucky if we hear from her once every 3 weeks. And all of the same people that she'd been involved in drugs with were hearing from her almost daily. When we do get a phone call, it's just, "I'm okay, Mom," and I'm not hearing my happy girl anymore. I'm hearing the girl that I fought with that was on drugs, that something just wasn't right with. And I knew that if we couldn't get her home, she was gonna end up something really bad.
Then, in July, she joined the magazine crew where she met Chris. The night Samantha disappears, Chris is saddened to learn she has a habit of running off.
My girlfriend just left me, how would you feel, I just remember thinking like, how could she do that to me? How could she do it? After that, I was a little bit less frantic. I wasn't really thinking that she was in a whole lot of danger.
Chris tells Mary that he'll hang on to Samantha's things, which are still with him at the hotel.
There was definitely a spot where I hoped that she would come back, and it just never happened.
About a week after Samantha disappears, Chris and the magazine crew head to Phoenix, their next destination.
After that, I didn't really have any contact with Samantha's mom at all. I did think about contacting her, but if she just left, then that's not even something that I want to think about. It's just a bad memory, my girlfriend leaving me.
In the days after she hears about Samantha running out of the movie theater, Mary is in an all-too-familiar limbo.
I'm thinking that I'll hear from her soon, needing money or a ticket or help of some kind.
At the time, she suspected that Samantha was running away or was displaying some of the same behavior that she had in the past.
Still, Mary can't help checking to see if Samantha's all right.
Over the next few days, Mary attempted to contact Chris's mother, but received only voicemail and didn't get any callbacks.
I called everybody on my phone list that I had for keeping track of her, that she kept in contact with regularly. I probably did that for every day for a week, and nobody had heard anything. She never stayed out of contact with everybody for a week. She might not have called me, but she never stayed out of contact.
As the days stretch on, Samantha's silence leaves Mary panicked. This begins to seem like more than her daughter's rebellious behavior. Finally, after nearly 2 weeks, Mary tries filing a missing persons report. Police in Alaska tell her to contact authorities in California. But Mary has no idea which precinct in California to contact, since she doesn't know where the theater or the hotel were.
The only thing I had to go on was Chris's mother's phone number.
After locating several precincts that might be in the area, Mary is told that an 18-year-old has the right to leave home without contact. Still, Mary keeps trying.
But if I didn't have a last known address, they couldn't take a missing persons report. And I gave him the phone number for Chris's mother, and they said, that's not our area. And I said, well, what area is it? I don't know, and they hung up on me.
Mary realizes she's alone in her search.
I always thought that, when somebody went missing, you went through your police department and they helped you. And I couldn't get any help.
So she turns to the only resource she has left, the internet.
I searched her credit history to see if she'd applied for a job or, an apartment. Information about human trafficking, doing everything I can to try to find any kind of hint of her.
It's been 2 months since Samantha Bunnell disappeared. As the holidays approach, Mary hopes she'll be hearing from her daughter any day now.
Samantha never let a holiday go by without calling. And she never, ever missed sending her Aunt Liz a Christmas card.
But Christmas comes and goes. No one hears from Samantha. As 2005 draws to an end, Mary's outlook is bleak.
I figured when she didn't call by Christmas that the only thing it could be is that she was in a position where she could not call. Somebody had abducted her or she had been trafficked. This wasn't Samantha being angry or using drugs. I knew something was really wrong.
Now that the holidays are over, and Samantha seems to have completely dropped out of contact, Mary shifts her online search to a darker focus.
By January, I don't think I'm searching anything but unidentified body websites. It became almost a nightly ritual. The DOE Network is the website that I looked on the most often.
The DOE Network, a volunteer-run website, has compiled a database with artist renderings of the unidentified dead. It includes details of when and where an unidentified body was found, anything that might help someone identify their missing loved one.
Searching it is just unbelievably horrible. The images that stay in your head, they're there forever and they don't go away.
Mary spends her nights searching for Samantha, scanning picture after picture.
I kept it kind of secret. I didn't want anybody to know that I was looking for my daughter's dead body. My husband thought that it wasn't healthy for me to be doing that. When my husband would go to sleep at night, I would slip out of bed and search the internet all night long. And when it was time for him to get up and go to work, I'd slip quietly into bed next to him. And when he'd go to work, I'd get what I had to done and back to searching the internet. It became my secret prison.
The grisly routine becomes Mary's only way to keep going.
My baby girl was missing, and I just didn't have a choice. I had to find her.
"4 months after Mary learns her daughter has vanished, she gets another unexpected call. This time, it's from a detective in Hanahan, South Carolina, with a possible lead.
They had found Samantha's luggage.
Coming up, is Samantha in danger?
Inside the luggage was some of Samantha's clothing, along with male clothing.
"4 months after Samantha Bunnell disappears, her mother Mary fears she may be dead. Then, Samantha's suitcase turns up in Hanahan, South Carolina, more than 2,000 miles from where she was last seen.
When they found her luggage and called me, I had this glimmer of hope that she was still alive.
The Hanahan detective tells Mary that a man spotted the suitcase sitting in his driveway, with no idea how it got there. When Hanahan investigators open the suitcase, what they find is disturbing.
Inside the luggage was some of Samantha's clothing, along with male clothing.
It was mostly men's clothes and baseball hats. There was a sweater of Samantha's that I had bought her, and one of Samantha's socks, but nothing else in the luggage was hers.
When Mary tells Hanahan detectives that Samantha has been missing for 4 months, they begin searching the area, hoping the 18-year-old might still be nearby. But by now, the lead seems to have gone cold.
No one had seen her. They even did a press release to see if anyone knew Samantha's whereabouts.
After about 3 weeks, Hanahan investigators find no trace of the girl who'd set out to see the world. But the detective handling Samantha's case does discover another way to help locate her.
When I told him how long it had been since we've heard from her, the first thing he did was scold me for not filing a missing persons report. And I said, whoa, stop. I've tried to file a missing persons report. Nobody will take this report. And I don't know what to do. He said, I will make sure that this gets done. And he contacted the Alaska State Patrol, and he told them that if they wouldn't file the report, he would.
6 months after the September night that Samantha vanished, Alaska State Troopers finally file a missing persons report. It goes into a database called NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, making Samantha's record available to law enforcement nationwide.
I felt like I had help. Now, instead of just me looking, I've got hope that maybe if she's pulled over, they'll say, you're reported as being missing.
Authorities ask Mary for Samantha's identifying data, like fingerprints and dental records, to include with her missing persons report.
I think that's maybe the worst thing I ever had to do. It was just heart-wrenching. When you bring in dental x-rays, you know you're not looking for a live person, and a good chance you're not even looking for a whole body. You're maybe looking for just a piece of it.
Mary tells police they can find Samantha's fingerprints on file from when she'd run away from home years earlier. An entire year passes after Samantha's luggage turns up, and Mary gets no new information about her daughter's case. Her brief hope that the free-spirited 18-year-old might be found alive starts to fade. Once again, she begins obsessively poring over pictures on the Doe network.
It got to be the point where I was doing it even during the day. I wasn't hiding it as much.
One night, a face on her computer screen grabs Mary's attention.
I found a picture that kind of looked like Samantha. It looked like she could have been a sister or a cousin. I couldn't seem to get past the description of the clothing was exactly the type of clothing that Samantha wore.
The girl in the photo was found wearing a jogging suit. But when Mary reads the rest of the description, she realizes this probably isn't Samantha.
The shoes are size 7. Samantha's got size 5 feet. There were no freckles. And the composite drawing had perfectly straight hair, and Samantha had curly hair that she hated for as long as I can remember.
Mary also believes that the NCIC system should have beat her to this discovery.
Since they filed the missing persons report, it should have automatically matched.
The NCIC system compares data from missing persons reports, like age, gender, and date last seen, with records of the unidentified dead. If there's a match, investigators are alerted and can compare fingerprints, DNA, or dental x-rays.
So this couldn't be her. This couldn't be Samantha.
But Mary can't help coming back to the picture of this girl.
I'd end up looking back at this same picture every night. The date matches the same day that Samantha went missing. It's within hours of the time that I got the phone call.
Finally, Mary emails a link of the girl's description to someone else close to Samantha.
I emailed my sister, Liz, a copy of the picture. When Liz called me the next morning, she said, I think it's her.
Coming up, has Mary finally found Samantha?
The first thing he told me is, no, it's not going to be your daughter.
Yet more disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. Almost 2 years after Samantha Bunnell never returned from the movies, her mother Mary wonders whether she's found a Jane Doe that might be her daughter. Mary gets up the courage to call the contact listed on the Doe Network page. She reaches David Van Norman, deputy coroner in San Bernardino County, California.
I told Mary that I didn't believe that this could be her daughter.
Van Norman says that for the past 19 months, the San Bernardino coroner's office has tried unsuccessfully to match 159 missing girls with this Jane Doe, number 1705.
He told me, but we'll try to match it anyway.
Van Norman pulls up Samantha's NCIC record, looking for at least one of 3 crucial elements investigators use to rule out possible matches.
I'm standing at the place of death of some unidentified person, and I'm looking backwards in an attempt to understand where that person came from. There's only 3 ways to do that, and that's fingerprints, dental records, DNA. It all comes down to those.
Mary tells him Alaska authorities should have filed Samantha's fingerprints and dental records with her missing persons report. But when Van Norman pulls up Samantha's NCIC record, it lists no fingerprints or dental records on file. He contacts Anchorage authorities and learns that Samantha's fingerprints had been destroyed years earlier, after she had run away and returned to her parents' house back in Palmer, Alaska. He then asks investigators in Palmer for the dental records Mary says she'd brought in a year earlier. But after a couple of days, Van Norman still doesn't have them. Mary grows desperate, waiting for the x-rays to get to him.
I finally couldn't stand it anymore, not knowing whether it was Samantha's picture or not. It's the absolute worst time in my entire life.
Finally, Mary goes back to the dentist's office. After 19 months of sleepless nights searching for her daughter, Mary sends a scan of the x-rays in an email to Van Norman. The morning after Van Norman forwards Samantha's dental records to the forensic dentist to match against Jane Doe 1705, Van Norman gets an email with the results.
When I opened the email, the identity had been confirmed. Jane Doe 17 was Samantha Bunnell. I immediately contacted Mary Weir and confirmed the identity of Jane Doe 17 as her daughter.
I remember crying, and I was crying so hard I was shaking. I felt sad and relieved at the same time. At least now I knew where she was.
I have to think what took 19 months to make this identification. What else could we have done to make the identification faster?
Van Norman recalls telling Mary why initially he was skeptical this Jane Doe could have been her daughter.
Samantha Bunnell, according to the NCIC record, was last seen on March 6, 2006, and that's 6 months after Jane Doe 17 had died. And Mary Weir said, that can't be right.
It turns out that even though Samantha went missing in September 2005, the date on her NCIC record says she was last seen March 6, 2006. Mary learns this date corresponds to the day she filed the missing persons report with police in Palmer, Alaska. The discovery is shocking.
There's no possible way that the match could have been made with the way they filed the missing persons report.
It was obvious that the person who entered Samantha Bunnell's missing persons NCIC record into the system did not understand the implications of entering March 6th, 06. If a person is alive and well sometime after a body is found, it will be ruled out and would never be compared because the inaccurate information, they were preventing her record from ever matching against Jane Doe 17's. What was critical in this particular instance was that Mary Weir started her own investigation.
At the time she was searching for Samantha, Mary never knew about the inaccurate date on Samantha's NCIC record because it is only available to law enforcement personnel.
I did everything right. I did everything that they'd let me do. I did everything I could do. I filed the reports. I looked. I called. I begged. I pleaded for help. And I thought I had gotten it.
After almost 2 years, Mary finally learns why Samantha never returned from the movies that night.
I was working day shift, and it was reported to me that a young girl had been killed on the Interstate 10 freeway. She was struck by several vehicles and had been pronounced dead at the scene quite late in the evening, about 11:08.
When the girl's body was taken to the county morgue, no identifying information was found, so Van Norman gathered data to create an NCIC record for this Jane Doe, number 17 in the year 2005.
That would include her description, height, her weight, her eye color, fingerprints. It would also note the dental characteristics, which can then be compared against missing persons cases across the country.
Van Norman took photographs to create the drawing that Mary eventually saw on the Doe Network website. Samantha's picture was then distributed to the media. Tragically, since it only appeared in local media, Mary in Alaska never had a chance to see her daughter's face in the news.
Frankly, I was stunned as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months that Jane Doe 17 was not identified. We did not believe that Jane Doe 17 was a transient because her clothing was clean, she was well nourished. This is a person who has a family, and so as the case continued on and match after match was ruled out, we were amazed.
Van Norman kept Samantha's body from being buried longer than usual, confident this young girl's family would soon find her. Once Samantha is identified, Van Norman recommends an investigation into her death due to suspicious circumstances.
The fact that she was found on the freeway in a place that a pedestrian really shouldn't have been.
Witnesses report Samantha running in the middle of the freeway when she was struck by several vehicles. And there's another troubling detail.
Her pockets had been turned out, as though someone had gone through them. My concern was that somebody may have been chasing her across the freeway and removed something from her pockets that either could have identified her or identified them.
Coming up, investigators unravel the moments before Samantha was killed. Years, Samantha Bunnell's body is finally identified. The California Highway Patrol launches an investigation into her death. Was she the victim of a crime?
Her pockets were found turned inside out, suggesting maybe somebody had gone through her pockets after she'd been hit. It was unusual why Samantha was out on the freeway. Was somebody out there with her? Was somebody chasing her?
Sergeant Chris Fisher from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office investigates Samantha's unusual death. The driver who first hit Samantha recalled the frightening moment of impact.
He was traveling about 70 miles an hour, and in the blink of an eye, he saw a female running into the freeway. He said that he tried to avoid hitting her by turning to the left, but heard a thump and believes he struck her on the front right portion of his vehicle.
Detectives learn that he and other drivers couldn't have avoided hitting the 18-year-old.
Based on witness statements, Samantha was running with the flow of traffic in the center divider, and then she ran directly into traffic.
Sergeant Fisher hears a particularly disturbing detail from a driver who spotted Samantha just moments before she was hit.
One witness remembered seeing Samantha running with a blank stare on her face, almost as if she was out of it, not looking towards the vehicle that were coming at her.
Investigators question how Samantha ended up in the middle of the I-10, one of Southern California's busiest freeways.
One way, obviously, would be to run and dodge vehicles. She could get on from an on-ramp. It's possible that she was in a vehicle and dropped off on the freeway or in the center divider.
But when Sergeant Fisher interviews drivers who stopped at the tragic scene, he gets no leads.
No one witnessed her running from the side of the freeway to the center divider. They didn't see anybody chasing her. They didn't see anybody with her. Didn't see what she was running from or where she was running to.
When Sergeant Fisher speaks to the first responders, they tell him Samantha's pockets could have been turned inside out from the force of impact.
It's not uncommon for pedestrians that are hit by vehicles to have their clothing disarray, sometimes even torn off.
Detectives investigate other explanations for Samantha's dangerous behavior that night.
I wanted to know the reason why somebody would run into traffic, whether it was they were under the influence of alcohol or narcotics and didn't know what they were doing. Were they possibly trying to kill themselves?
Sergeant Fisher reviews Samantha's autopsy toxicology report for possible clues. What he learns seems significant.
She was under the influence of alcohol, had trace amounts of amphetamine and cannabis in her system.
When David Van Norman read the toxicology results, he didn't consider these drug and alcohol levels high enough to be a factor in her death. Investigators locate Chris, living in Missouri. They don't tell him that Samantha is dead, believing it might influence his answers. According to Chris, Samantha's substance abuse demons didn't follow her while they were together.
I know that she had experimented with methamphetamine. She never told me that, it was like a major habit. I had never known anything that she did other than smoke weed and take a drink. But she didn't do that every day.
When speaking with Samantha's mother, Mary, Sergeant Fisher learns that the rebellious 18-year-old had taken antidepressants. But by the time Samantha left for California in March 2005, Mary believes Samantha had stopped taking her medication. Still, Mary doesn't think depression led her daughter to run in front of traffic.
I don't think she got on through the center of that freeway of her own free will.
Chris also doesn't believe depression would have contributed to her death.
She never came across as depressed to me. She would have moments where she would be like solemn, and it wasn't real often. Most of the time she was in a good mood.
Sergeant Fisher probes deeper into Samantha's frame of mind that night.
I asked Chris if they had any type of disagreement or argument before she went to the movie theater, and he said that they did not.
The homicide team works to piece together Samantha's last night. Sergeant Fisher locates a movie theater about a mile from where she was killed. But now, 2 years later, no one at the theater recalls seeing Samantha run out that night.
We don't even know for sure if she was there.
With no clear leads from Samantha's last night, investigators hope Chris can help explain another mysterious clue in her case. Still not revealing that Samantha was killed, Sergeant Fisher shows him a photo of the suitcase found in South Carolina, as well as its contents.
There were my clothes in there. I'd collect like sports hats, like a baseball cap in every different town we went to. Some of my jeans were in there.
Chris recalls the last time he had the luggage, shortly after Samantha disappeared.
In between Phoenix, Arizona, and Albuquerque, New Mexico, my luggage got stolen, along with her stuff.
Finally, Sergeant Fisher tells Chris the real reason Samantha never returned that night, almost 2 years ago.
My heart just sank. It's because I cared about her. That shouldn't happen to anybody, but especially not Samantha. I just wish I had never let her go with people I didn't know, people that she didn't really know. If I'd have just told her not to go, then none of this would have happened. I just don't feel like I did my job as a boyfriend. Like, I feel like I let her mom down just to protect her daughter, just to be there, and I always was, and that time I wasn't. And I do want her mom to know that I'm sorry.
After speaking with Chris and examining all the other information, Sergeant Fisher concludes his investigation.
I do not believe that there was foul play involved. There was nothing to suggest that anyone had anything to do with Samantha's death.
But Mary is haunted by questions about what could have led Samantha into such a treacherous spot.
I think Samantha was in some kind of trouble that night. Somebody may have been making a drug deal and thought she had drugs in her pocket. I don't know whether the magazine sales group got in a fight with her and pushed her out in the middle of the freeway, or if some stranger picked her up and she jumped out of the car.
Meanwhile, Samantha's case has motivated Van Norman to educate families and law enforcement about the need for identifier records like fingerprints, dental records, and DNA to make even more matches.
Just the idea, the image of Mary sitting there at night in the glare of a computer screen and seeing these images, some of which are just awful. Somehow, I knew that this is why we do what it is that we do. There are thousands of mothers who wonder what happened to their children. Every one of those unidentified persons has a name that I don't know, but that I'm going to make it my mission in life to try to send home. Mary. Oh, it's such an honor to find you.
Oh, it is.
Now, Mary works as an advocate, helping other families find their missing loved ones, and working with law enforcement to create new policies and training in reporting missing persons.
What's great is you're turning this tragedy into a message.
I couldn't sit and do nothing. My message for the families is be proactive. It just breaks my heart to think of all of these bodies out there that they have families, they have names. She wasn't Jane Doe number 17. She was my daughter. And she was beautiful and vibrant and full of life. Hundreds of thousands of families that are living in the pain that I lived in. And it's got to be stopped. That's the only thing that
Appeared on Thursday, August 17th, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Brandy Hall's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. In Central Florida, a firefighter and mother goes missing.
She left by herself, and she did not appear to be in any kind of distress.
24 hours later, her truck turns up empty, submerged in a pond.
I seen a picture of Brandy's truck being pulled out of a pond, and I just started going crazy.
Did Brandy Hall have reason to flee?
I can't grasp the concept of her just up and leaving and living in Costa Rica, sipping a pina colada.
Or did someone want to hurt her?
You can't help but think it. Perfect timing. Right before his court appearance, she disappears.
As an investigation begins, the mysteries only multiply.
She was fixing to get her life back. She was fixing to get her job back. Things were looking so good.
Leaving Brandy's loved ones in an endless state of panic.
Somebody wake me up out of this horrible, horrible nightmare.
2006. 32-year-old Brandy Hall has just begun her shift at the volunteer fire station in Malabar, Florida. Brandy is one of only 2 female firefighters in the squad, but she fits right in and is well liked by her colleagues.
Brandy's the kind of a person that comes around once in a lifetime that's truly, genuinely sincere about helping others. If you were going to be anybody in the fire service, you'd want to be like Brandy Hall.
Brandy is something of a local hero. Her adventurous spirit shaped by the sandy swamps and palm groves of Bull Creek, where she grew up.
I think growing up in Bull Creek did good for Brandy. And just like a little community that everybody sticks together and takes care of everybody.
Bull Creek's amazing. It's 22,000 acres of beautiful woods, and that was our playground out there. We learned how to grow up back there.
From an early age, Brandy was a strong, tough girl.
I was initiated by Brandy. The first day I met her, she threw me into the mud. Brandy's very much the tomboy who wore Wranglers and boots and camouflage jackets and that was Brandy.
She was more like a boy. She did everything boys did. She drove the airboat. She drove the four-wheelers and three-wheelers, and she fed off that stuff. She loved it. She liked being better than the boys. She was a happy girl. She was always the one that had the bright ideas.
Although Brandy seemed invincible, she almost lost her life in a three-wheel all-terrain vehicle accident when she was 11.
She happened to go up a hill and the three-wheeler came back onto her face. Her skull was fractured, both her jaws were broken, a couple other cheekbone areas were broken.
She was in surgery, I think it was 10 to 12 hours, I believe, something like that. It was really traumatic.
After a month in the hospital, Brandy was released and underwent home care for another year. Despite lifelong pain and scarring, and several more surgeries as she continued to grow, Brandy rebounded.
I don't think the accident changed her. She had too much willpower. She had too much strength and want to do in her life. And you don't pick on Brandy. It don't matter whether she had a three-wheeler accident or not. She was still going to kick your butt if you picked on her.
But Brandy's accident did profoundly affect her in another way.
I believe it made her dedicate her life to wanting to help other people. That's why she became the firefighter and an EMT and a paramedic, because she wanted to always be there to help everyone.
Fresh out of high school, Brandy began volunteering at the Hollapaw Fire Station. It's there that she met Jeff Hall, another firefighter, and her future husband.
When we first met, she was getting in there, getting her hands dirty, and I really liked that. I mean, she was mixing it up good, just like the other guys. I'd been in the fire service for years, and you didn't see too many women like that. So that's, I think, what was the initial attraction.
In 1992, Jeff and Brandy were married, and their careers took off. Jeff was promoted to fire chief of Osceola County, and Brandy started a full-time position at the Palm Bay Fire Station.
She was an excellent firefighter, and she could go in at a moment's notice and tell you exactly what was going on by the color of the smoke, the sounds that the building makes. She saved 95% of the homes that she went on.
Despite working 24-hour shifts, Brandy and Jeff made time to start a family, first having a girl and then a boy.
Oh, she was a fantastic mother. You couldn't ask for a better mother. Being a firefighter, she worked 1 day on and 2 days off. Jeff and Brandy worked the same shift, so I would have them on their day that they worked all day and all night. She'd always call me and tell me to make sure that they were breathing, to put my hand on their stomach to make sure they're breathing. Maybe with some of the scenes that she saw, and she just wanted to make sure that they were still alive. She just loved her children and she loved her job.
By 2005, Brandy is leading a comfortable, happy life. But on July 2nd, she receives shocking news. Her husband Jeff and a friend are arrested for marijuana cultivation.
I really can't remember how it all came into play, how the ball started getting rolling. Just thought it would be fun and not really having the thought of the repercussions of such actions. It was a stupid mistake.
The grow operation was located on 13 acres of land, south of where Brandy and Jeff live with their children. Jeff pleads guilty to the charges, but maintains that Brandy has nothing to do with it.
Brandy thought I was renting the property to somebody. I was able to hide the money because we made a great deal of money. I had my pension. Brandy had a good salary. And also I had told people that I had rented our property for a pretty decent amount of money.
But Jeff is unable to shield Brandy from the repercussions of his crime. The property is in both his and Brandy's name, so she is also legally responsible. 6 days later, the authorities come to the fire station to arrest Brandy.
I could not believe it. I saw no reason why or how they even got an arrest warrant for her. I was very surprised. They waited till she was on duty and came and basically made a public spectacle out of her. When I picked her up from jail, She was just in shambles. I mean, she was constantly crying. I mean, I was terrified for her.
Brandy's charges are dropped soon after she is released from jail. But then she receives another blow. After 10 years of service, Brandy is fired.
Brandy's record as firefighter was immaculate. I think she got some of the highest reviews consistently every year. She never thought that it would actually go as far as terminate her. She thought everything would be dropped. The charges that would be dropped against her.
Brandy lived for the fire service, and it just tore her apart.
It was devastating. She was crying. She's like, Mom, I can't lose my job, because she'd worked so hard, and it meant everything to her.
Not one to bow to adversity, Brandy immediately sets out to get her job back, seeking work as a volunteer in the nearby town of Malabar.
In the state of Florida, if you stay out of the fire service for a 2-year period of time, you lose your certifications. And she did not want to lose her certifications. And she asked me if I could bring her in and allow her the opportunity to be a volunteer.
Because Brandy and Jeff are also financially strapped, she wastes no time in finding paid work.
She started working for us in our construction company, just doing odd jobs, painting manholes or backflows and stuff like that. She was fixing to get her life back. She was fixing to get her job back. Everything was fixing to be settled with that. The trouble with the grow house and stuff, things were looking so good.
A year after his arrest, Jeff has a court date to be sentenced for his crime. Although there's a chance of getting off on probation, Jeff's former position as fire chief could bring the law down harder on him.
I was the chief. Now, I was this political figure. Brandy was afraid I was going to go to jail for a minimum mandatory of 3 years, if not higher.
In hopes of helping lighten the sentence, Brandy agrees to be a character witness on Jeff's behalf. She also enlists the help of her boss at the Malabar Fire Department.
I was approached by Brandy the evening before the court trial for her husband, and she asked if I would go to be a character reference at his trial, and hopefully it may soften the punishment.
On the eve of Jeff's hearing, Brandy is scheduled to stay at the station overnight. As she always does when she's working, Brandy says prayers with the children over the phone before they go to bed.
I called Brandy to say the prayer with the kids. We talked, and then I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
An hour after hanging up the phone with Brandy, Jeff receives another call.
Mom had called me and said, Jeff, do you realize that your court schedule had changed to like 8 o'clock in the morning? So I called and left a message with the lawyer, and I immediately tried to call Brandy.
But Jeff is unable to reach her. Brandy doesn't answer her phone, and her voicemail box is full.
That morning when I woke up, I talked to my attorney. He goes, no, there's nothing to worry about. We just need to be there early. Don't be there at 1 o'clock. Get there around 10 or 11 o'clock, and I'll meet you there. And then I tried to call Brandy. I never could get a hold of her. I called the fire department. They said she had already left.
Because Brandy's shift ends at 7 a.m., Jeff believes his wife is on her way home. But as he prepares the kids for school, Brandy doesn't show up.
I don't know if there's anything that could describe that. I mean, I was scared. I knew in my heart I was going to go to jail. Dropping the kids off at school, man, I was crying.
Jeff says goodbye to his children and begins the hour-long journey to the Osceola courthouse for his sentencing hearing. While driving, he continues trying to find Brandy.
I finally got a hold of TJ. He worked with Brandy at the fire station. They were good buddies. He said, Jeff, she left last night about 10:30.
Jeff is shocked. If Brandy left the station the night before, where is she now?
I mean, I was driving to court. I was worried to death I was going to be late there, not knowing what was going to go on, and it was just crazy. I was scared, and it just felt lost.
Coming up, in a tragic piece of timing, one parent goes to jail while the other remains missing.
Everything's running through my mind. What about the kids? Where's Brandy? It was terrifying.
Learned that his wife Brandy is missing. The 32-year-old volunteer firefighter was scheduled to be at the station until her shift ended at 7 a.m. But according to a colleague, Brandy left the night before.
I'm getting scared at this time. I'm freaking out. Where's she at? And got the court thing I'm going to. So it was very chaotic. Very chaotic.
For Brandy's husband, Jeff, the timing couldn't be worse. He's en route to a sentencing hearing for a marijuana cultivation charge he's pled guilty to. Despite an intense desire to begin searching for his wife, he must keep heading toward the courthouse.
I would just start driving around trying to find, I would have more time to try to look, just drive around and see where she went to. And I just couldn't do all that. I mean, I was driving to court.
Jeff arrives at the courthouse, hoping against all odds that Brandy will be there. Instead, he finds a small crowd of family and friends gathered outside, but no one knows where Brandy is.
I got to the courthouse and immediately talked to my lawyer, and he goes, "Jeff, what's wrong with you?" And I said, "I can't find Brandy." And then, of course, Brandy's mom starts winging out, just, "Where's she at? Where's she at?"
We were all standing there together, and he didn't know where she was at either. So we didn't know what to think.
I was frightened. I was scared to death. But then I got to thinking, well, she's so petrified of this place.
Jeff recalls an earlier episode when Brandy refused to enter the court building.
During a pre-trial hearing, she wanted to stay in the truck. Our attorney told me it's going to last like 5 minutes. But she was so scared to go into that courthouse, she stayed in the truck. She was just terrified, totally terrified. I mean, just the whole atmosphere. I mean, it's just this whole part of our life was a very scary time. It was very traumatizing.
Jeff hopes that his wife has simply gotten cold feet. At the moment, he has no choice but to put his thoughts of Brandy aside and focus on his sentencing.
The hearing didn't last, I wouldn't think, maybe half an hour at that. Well, I lost all track of time. I was constantly thinking about Brandy not showing up, not being able to contact her. It went so fast. I mean, it was just me staying up there with my attorneys and the judge saying you get 18 months Department of Correction, 3.5 years probation, and it's over with.
Jeff's sentence of 18 months in prison seems particularly harsh to other firefighters.
They wanted to make an example because, we're in a trusted position, and that can't be tolerated. Your law enforcement and your fire and EMS are the people that have impeccable reputations, and to do this, it lost the trust of all the people. So, you got to abide by the law.
For Jeff, the sentence goes in one ear and out the other. All he knows is that he'll be locked up and unable to look for Brandy.
Until I got sentenced, until I got taken back and got my fingerprints again. And, it's just constantly, running through my mind. What about the kids? Where's Brandy? It was terrifying.
As Jeff is handcuffed and taken away, family members quickly arrange for Brandy and Jeff's children to be picked up from school. Then they turn their attention to Brandy.
We knew where Jeff was going, so then after it was over, then it was time to go find out where Brandy was at, why she wasn't there.
But the facts are few. Brandy left the fire station the night before at 10:30 p.m. Now, almost 24 hours later, no one has seen or heard from her. Brandy's mother can't help but worry about her daughter's state of mind.
Brandy told me she and Jeff weren't getting along. I believe that their relationship got bad after he got arrested, and then she got arrested, and I'm sure Brandy was angry at Jeff over all this. She has a book probably 3 or 4 inches wide of all the certificates that she's accomplished. You can't be accountable for what somebody else is doing.
Unable to sit back and wait for news any longer, Debbie decides to look for Brandy herself.
I don't know. I just went towards Palm Bay, Malabar, looking. I probably drove by Brandy and Jeff's house to see if she might be there for any reason, just looking to see if I see her truck anywhere and find out what's going on.
Debbie drives for hours, searching for any sign of Brandy. It's almost dark when her worst fears are realized.
I remember coming to a stop sign. Right before the stop sign, Cher, one of her best friends, was coming the other way. Seems like she might have got out of the car and come running to me. And she's like, "They just pulled Brandy's talk about the pond.
Coming up, has Brandy taken her own life?
I mean, I sit there with my head on the window, just closed my eyes, cried. And I cried like a baby.
Hall never came home after ending her shift early on August 17th, 2006. Her husband Jeff had no time to look for her before making a scheduled court appearance. Now he's sitting in jail, completely isolated from any news in the search for his wife.
When I was in the holding cell, I had no contact with my family, so if something should arise, I wouldn't know if Brandy showed up or didn't show up. And I was worried sick the whole time, and this was hours and hours and hours. I was just sitting there with my head against the wall, against the window, just, stomach in a knot, sick of my stomach.
Through the window of his cell, Jeff is able to see a television that the guards are watching. When the 11 o'clock news begins broadcasting, he gets the shock of his life.
I looked up and I seen a picture of Brandy's truck being pulled out of a pond, and I just started going crazy. I mean, emotionally, because it's obvious her truck. That was her pride and joy. Her truck. It's always her truck. I'm starting to freak out in my mind and saying, okay, what's going on here? Why is this, and just didn't know what to think. I mean, I was like a basket case at this point in time.
Jeff can only imagine what the images mean. He must wait to learn anything more until he is finished being processed.
I went to the 23-hour lockup, and I don't even know what time that was. When you get in there, you're allowed one phone call. I was able to call my mom, and she tried to fill me in.
She tells him that earlier in the day, a man fishing in Palm Bay found a firefighter's bunker bag. The items inside, boots, pants, a jacket, and helmet, all belonged to Brandy Hall. Firefighters responding to the scene found broken branches and tire marks, suggesting that a vehicle was submerged underwater. They work with police to pull the truck out and confirm that it's Brandy's.
I just got my head hung against the window, just thinking, what's going on, what's happening. Just cried. I cried like a baby. I mean, I sit there with my head on the window, just closed my eyes and cried.
In Palm Bay, firefighters and police officers work into the night to look for Brandy. Many of them know her personally and are deeply affected by the search.
It was very traumatic for me. I knew the family, I knew the children, and the circumstances of how we found this thing, and no one knowing anything, what could have happened, or what did happen. It put a strain on me, personally.
Once Brandy's truck is fully removed from the water, the responders brace themselves for what they will find.
When they first opened the doors, they weren't sure if Brandy Hall was inside of the truck. When they let the water out of the vehicle and looked inside, they discovered that Miss Hall was in fact not in the vehicle.
The truck is sent to the station for a thorough forensic examination. The next morning, investigators resume searching.
Cadaver dogs were used to search the area. Volunteers were used to search that area. The woods and the area around that lake were searched pretty thoroughly by numerous volunteers and other agencies.
Divers also entered the pond, probing the murky depths for personal items relating to Brandy, or the firefighter herself.
Suicide was a theory. She had some financial pressures based on her losing her job at Palm Bay Fire Department, as well as court costs for her husband, who had pled guilty to a cultivation of cannabis charge in Osceola County.
The last time that I saw Brandy, she seemed okay to me, but she seemed like she was a little stressed out. The most thing that was weighing on Brandy's mind was her bills. That she just felt like she was kind of getting buried. It was like she felt like she was working and never getting ahead. We didn't talk about Jeff's sentencing hearing a lot because the kids were around that day, but she did mention that, she was nervous about the outcome and what was going to happen.
To be sure that the divers haven't missed anything, police begin work draining the pond. They also start developing other theories.
From there, investigators had to talk to Brandy Hall's family and friends to try to get a timeline of where she had gone, who she had talked to, and where she should have been at the time she went missing.
Brandy's husband, Jeff, is one of the first to be approached.
It was 1 to 2 days after I got put in jail that a detective came and saw me. Basically asked me if I did anything bad to her, and I said no, I didn't.
Jeff goes over with the detective the last contact he had with his wife.
He spoke with her around 9:30 the night before her truck was found, which would have been August 17th, when she called to say the prayers with her kids. He tried calling her at approximately 11 o'clock and was unable to reach her.
Detectives also speak to firefighters who were working with Brandy the night she disappeared.
Brandy Hall had told her coworkers that she just wasn't feeling good, and her stomach seemed upset, so she was going to go home and sleep.
Surveillance video from the fire station seems to confirm nothing out of the ordinary occurred that last night.
They looked at the video at the Malabar Volunteer Fire Department to make sure she didn't have any altercations with anybody there, as well as to see if anybody had followed her out of the parking lot.
The footage shows Brandy relaxed and at ease, speaking with her fellow firefighters in the station.
She left by herself, and she did not appear to be in any kind of distress or emotionally upset or anything. She left as anybody would leave work.
The timestamp on the surveillance cameras pinpoints Brandy's departure at 10:50 p.m. Investigators look next at Brandy's phone activity.
Cell phone records confirm that Brandy Hall called home approximately 9:30 at night, which would have been around the kids' bedtime. Cell phone records also confirmed that Jeff Hall had attempted to call Brandy Hall at approximately the time she would have been leaving the Malabar Volunteer Fire Department.
Both calls are consistent with Jeff's statement. But Jeff wasn't the last person to speak to Brandy that night.
Cell phone records also showed there was a phone call at 11:05 p.m. where there was an 11-minute conversation, which ended up being the last conversation documented that Miss Hall had.
Coming up, could this call lead police to Brandy's whereabouts? Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. 2006, Brandy Hall walks out of the Malabar fire station and disappears. According to coworkers and in surveillance footage, Brandy's last hours at work don't seem out of the ordinary. But just after she leaves, Brandy places one last phone call. Police are able to trace the call to Randall Richmond, Brandy's former boss at the Palm Bay Fire Department.
Randall Richmond was a really close friend of the family to Brandy and Jeff. Firefighters are a very tight-knit group. Their families got together all the time and went camping together, and they just did all kinds of fun things together.
On Sunday, August 20th, Randall comes in for questioning and tells investigators shocking news. Brandy was planning on fleeing.
Mr. Richmond came into the police department, stated that Miss Hall had spoke to him Thursday night, which would have been August 17th, and said that she was leaving, she was going away. She was waiting at the Sunoco gas station for money. Miss Hall did not tell Miss Richmond who was supposed to bring her money, only that she couldn't take it anymore. She was just going to go away and disappear.
Randall's account points the investigation in an entirely new direction. Did Brandy leave on her own accord? It's hard for those close to her to imagine.
I was hoping to God that maybe she got angry and just decided to dump the truck and walk away and get her thoughts together before she came back. But I can't grasp the concept of her just up and leaving and living in Costa Rica, sipping a pina colada and getting away from it all. I can't envision that.
I don't think Brandy left on her own accord. She had to be forced, in my sense, because there's no way she would leave her children. No matter what happened, she would not leave her children.
There's also the evidence at the pond. If Brandy fled, was sinking her truck part of an elaborate scheme to cover her tracks?
To know Brandy and know the type of person she was towards her vehicles, she wouldn't put her truck in the water. It's just impossible to think that. Somebody else is involved here. Somebody else had a helping hand in this.
Despite their doubts, detectives go ahead and check out Randall's story, but they are unable to confirm any of the details.
Nobody at the gas station remembered seeing Brandy Hall's truck there that evening, and there was no exterior video, so it was unable to be verified if she was in fact there.
Data from Brandy's cell phone carrier doesn't support the account either.
The information from the cell tower didn't show a pinpoint location, so where the signal was coming from could have been anywhere in a 3-mile radius, which would have included that Sunoco gas station, but also would have included the lake where her truck was eventually found.
As police go over this information, the results from the forensics examination of Brandy's truck come back. Detectives have found blood, and it belongs to Brandy.
The blood was in the map pocket of the driver's side door and also on the driver's side floorboard. Again, it was difficult to determine how much blood was there because of the water being mixed with it. So we couldn't tell just from looking at the blood if there was enough to say that the person would not have been able to survive with whatever injury caused that blood.
The new clue fuels speculation that Brandy staged her own murder in order to disappear.
Miss Hall would have known how to draw her own blood based on her training as a paramedic and as an EMT. She would have been around needles and would have had opportunity to do so.
Meanwhile, police finished draining the pond where Brandy's truck was found.
They couldn't find her body, so at that point, suicide seemed the least likely.
Brandy's loved ones wonder why, in all the searches, police have not turned up Brandy's gun.
She just grew up with guns. She always had a gun in her truck at all times. Her dad was very, very protective of her. Her dad taught her to keep guns on her. That was very normal for her to have that on her.
Brandy's missing gun underlines a more important point in the case. According to her friends, if someone approached Brandy that night, it had to be someone she knew.
Brandy wouldn't allow strangers near her truck or her equipment. And if she felt threatened, she wouldn't have them come very close to her either, so she was a very cautious person. If you look at it in that light, if they did assault her or attacked her, she would have had to trust them to allow them to get that close.
For detectives, the investigation has returned to square one. Who would want to hurt Brandy?
There's not a soul in the world that I know of that would want to ever hurt or harm Brandy. Everybody admired her. She was the most well-liked person I was ever associated with in my life.
But Brandy's golden reputation was much tarnished in the last year by her husband's arrest. Police begin forming a new theory. Could her husband's marijuana operation have put Brandy in danger?
I did hear that they were dealing with dangerous people. And because she was going to go in and testify on Jeff's behalf, I think they thought that she was going to release some names. And they didn't want that to happen.
The strange timing of Brandy's disappearance puts Jeff under suspicion.
You can't help but think it. Perfect timing. Right before his court appearance, she disappears. Did he do it because she may have spoke out about him? Who knows?
Police decide that it's time to speak to Jeff again. But the investigation hits a serious setback. Jeff is no longer talking. Coming up, will new clues lead investigators to Brandy Hall?
When they discovered the backpack, they looked inside the contents, found the day planner and the name Brandy Hall.
Brandy Hall's truck was found in the bottom of a pond in Palm Bay, Florida. But the 32-year-old mother of two is still missing. Investigators are beginning to suspect foul play and take a closer look at Brandy's husband, Jeff.
At the time of Miss Hall's disappearance, her husband was due to be sentenced. It was unclear whether she didn't want to testify. The theory was that there was drug dealers involved with a marijuana grow operation that killed her to silence her because Jeff was going to turn evidence against somebody.
But police are unable to talk to Jeff. He's out of jail and appealing his sentence.
Mr. Hall would not speak about the case, and his lawyers actually didn't want him to speak to us because it was still ongoing as far as the sentencing, and we were unable to clear up whether there was a bigger picture or other people involved that may have wanted to silence Miss Hall.
For police, Jeff's silence suggests he may have something to hide.
But Mr. Hall, he was considered a suspect that we had to eliminate, as was a lot of people in her circle. The fact that Mr. Hall was not able to speak directly with us caused a big question mark to be placed over his name as far as suspicion of guilt.
With no way to pursue this angle, the case begins to stall.
After the initial searches, it kind of just turned into nothing. I even hate to say it, it's like she just dropped off the face of the earth.
Time went on and nothing came of anything, and so they just sort of let it go like a cold case, I believe.
Almost a year has passed since Brandy Hall has gone missing. Family and friends find it increasingly difficult to hold on to the hope that Brandy is alive, when suddenly a clue surfaces.
On June 28, 2007, a backpack was discovered in a canal in Indian River County that was found to be Miss Hall's backpack that contained her day planner and some other personal items. When they discovered the backpack, they looked inside the contents, found the day planner and the name Brandy Hall.
The canal is approximately 30 miles south of the pond where Brandy's truck was found.
It's unclear how that backpack came to be in there. It's not connected in any way via any waterway, so the backpack had to have been thrown in to that canal close to where it was discovered.
The discovery of the backpack essentially rules out the theory that Brandy fled on her own.
The backpack was a small backpack and wouldn't be consistent with somebody traveling. There was some clothing found in the backpack. It wasn't enough to support anybody for more than a change of clothes.
Loved ones are also struck by the absence of Brandy's medication, which she took to fight the pain of the ATV accident she had as a child.
Brandy went nowhere without her medication because she would have major headaches. The medicine stayed in that backpack and they were never found.
Detectives follow through with the new lead, but are disappointed by the lack of results.
After the backpack was discovered, Miami Search and Rescue came back up with side-scanning sonar to check that canal to determine if maybe her body had been dumped in there or if she was in that canal or if there was any other evidence items. It ended up being just another dead end, so to speak, in this investigation.
Again, the search for Brandy hits a standstill. But then, there's movement in the case. After 14 months of silence, Brandy's husband, Jeff, agrees to talk.
I first spoke directly with the investigators as soon as the appeals process was over with. I think there was a lot of misconception, about that or why I was doing that, but we're trying to appeal a very serious situation.
Jeff loses his appeal and begins serving an 18-month sentence for marijuana cultivation.
It was probably within a month of me being sentenced. So they came to Central Florida Reception Center where I was at and talked to me there. I mean, I know the process, being thought of as a suspect or a person of interest because, I understand. I get all that. I'm a spouse.
Palm Bay police visit Jeff several times during his incarceration. They check out his whereabouts the night that Brandy went missing and make arrangements for him to take a lie detector test as soon as he's out.
Mr. Hall took the polygraph examination, and the results were that there was no deception indicated. Every time we contact Mr. Hall, he's very open with information. He's very forthcoming and willing to work with us however he can just to get an answer of what happened to his wife. I would not characterize Mr. Hall as a suspect at all.
In speaking with Jeff, Detective Pusatir is also able to clear up the rumors that Brandy was kidnapped or killed to prevent her from speaking out in court.
There's not no drug syndicate out of Mexico like was rumored to have or some big, huge operation. I say that's nonsense. I mean, total nonsense.
It's a smaller grow operation. They were just getting started. There was no Colombian drug lords out to kill them that had come up in some of the rumors that, I think she was killed by drug dealers. We were able to eliminate that as a possible motive.
For Jeff, the feeling that his crime may have colored people's perception of Brandy's disappearance weighs heavily on him.
Would things have been handled differently if I didn't go to jail? Would more people have been concerned about looking for her? And, that just sucks. it's something that I did. And I got weight on my shoulders because I went to jail, did something wrong. And that's hard to live with.
But with Jeff's cooperation, police are able to consider a new angle. They take a closer look at Randall Richmond, Brandy's former boss, with whom Jeff believes she was having an affair.
After she went missing, I found one of her cell phones, and I found some text messages. The text messages, pretty much at that point in time, made me realize that her and Randall were having an affair.
But police have already looked at Randall. He was the last person to speak to Brandy on August 17th, the night she disappeared.
In December of 2007, I wrote a search warrant for Mr. Richmond's vehicle. This was based on the fact that he was the last person to communicate with her. On August 18th, his truck was seen several times not far from where her truck was discovered. His vehicle was seized and a search warrant executed on it, looking for trace evidence of blood or any hair or fibers that belonged to Miss Hall.
No evidence is found inside Randall's vehicle, and when he is called in for questioning, the exact nature of his relationship with Brandy is difficult to define.
Mr. Richmond characterized their relationship as an emotional affair, that he never crossed any boundaries.
But others close to Brandy have a different perspective.
Brandy did confide in me about having an affair. I don't think it was a planned thing. I think it kind of just happened.
Some say that for Randall's wife, the rumors were real enough to provoke a very public reaction, 7 months before Brandy went missing.
Several witnesses told investigators that they saw Anne Marie Richmond and Brandy Hall have a verbal confrontation over Brandy's relationship with Randall Richmond. It came up later in the investigation that several people, including Jeff Hall, saw threatening text messages back and forth between Brandy Hall and Anne Marie Richmond, where they were sending threats back and forth to each other.
But Palm Bay police have trouble substantiating any of this information.
Anne Marie Richmond claimed to not know anything of what was going on, and Mr. Richmond consistently claimed that he did not know what happened to Brandy Hall other than that last phone call where she said she was going to disappear.
Neither Randall nor his wife has ever been named a suspect or person of interest in the case. While rumors still circulate, Brandy's loved ones remain focused on what's most important, finding Brandy.
I just don't want people to lose sight of the kind of person that she was, because a lot of us make horrible and wrong decisions and choices in our life, but it doesn't necessarily make us a bad person. And she was a good person, and I don't believe she ever meant to hurt anybody. She was just trying to live her life and love her kids and have her family, and I miss her a lot.
Years have passed since Brandy's 2006 disappearance. With no answers and no new leads, Brandy's family and friends struggle to keep on without her.
I saw Brandy every day. We were a close family, and it's so hard that she's not here. It's like somebody wake me up out of this horrible, horrible nightmare.
I was close with her. She was like a daughter. She did so much for this department, and it hurts that she's gone now. Her picture's all over this fire station. This has gone on too long. It's impacted too many people here.
When we go back in Bull Creek, it's hard on me because I think of Brandy all the time. I think she talks to me through the trees. I don't know why, but I'll find myself staring at a tree and it dances, and there's not a tree around it that's doing the same thing.
Although Brandy's husband Jeff is out of jail and reunited with his family, his life will never be the same. He misses his wife, and so do their children.
I mean, if they would find her alive or find her dead, I think it would be easier on the kids. Definitely, they think about it every day, I'm sure. Because my son even asked me, are we still looking for mom? He's still looking for mom. Yes. You cannot pull the wool over kids' eyes, especially when it comes to their mom.